Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Picture a windowless room in the Directorate of Plans, the black room where the messy reality of global revolution is distilled into clean, actionable intelligence. The world is vibrating with the tension of two superpowers locked in a terminal embrace. In Washington, the air is thick with the scent of old paper and the ozone of early mainframe computers. On the mahogany table sits a dossier bound in gray cardstock, stamped with a cryptonym that will never appear in history textbooks. AEKNIFE. Outside these walls, the decolonization era is exploding. From Congo to Vietnam, Soviet-backed guerrilla leaders are seizing the narrative of history. The CIA planners realize that a single charismatic leader is worth more than 10,000 infantrymen. The action program is born not from a desire for blood, but from a cold mathematical necessity. If you remove the head, the body of the revolution withers. The shadows here are deeper than any jungle. To manage a program like this, the agency had to build a world within a world. A bureaucracy of death that operated on logic gates and statistical probabilities. This wasn't the work of rogue agents. It was the work of men in cardigans and torn-rimmed glasses who balanced the books of geopolitics by subtracting human variables. They created a culture where extreme sanction was discussed with the same dry detachment as a budget audit, ensuring that the moral weight of the act was dissipated through 1,000 layers of paperwork and deniable signatures. Close your eyes and feel the chill of the air-conditioned silence. You aren't just reading a report. You are witnessing the birth of kinetic intelligence. To your left, a technical services division officer is demonstrating a fountain pen that fires a microscopic dart laced with shellfish toxin. To your right, a case officer is marking a map with X's that represent humans, men who have been judged by a secret committee and found incompatible with Western interest. This is the era of the plausible deniability doctrine, where the most important weapon in the American arsenal isn't a nuclear missile, but a silent, untraceable shadow. The humidity of the air's proxy wars feels miles away from this sanitized office, yet the decisions made here will echo through the streets of Leopoldville and Havana. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Leopoldville. You are part of the Executive Action Cell, a group of men who have decided that to save democracy, they must occasionally act like the very monsters they oppose. The air is charged with the weight of God-complex logic, the belief that the future of the free world can be secured by a well-timed accident. This is the heartbeat of AEKNIFE. Why AEKNIFE? Records indicate that the CIA utilized the AE prefix to designate operations specifically targeting the Soviet Union and its satellite states or high-level personalities. Knife was the descriptive suffix chosen to represent the surgical cut and extract nature of the program's intent. It was a designation designed to be both functional for internal auditing and chillingly literal for those within the need-to-know circle. Since we are surfacing the technical facts of this surgical shadow, let's look at the logic behind the logistics of termination. AEKNIFE utilized safe house networks across Western Europe to track Soviet defectors suspected of being doubled agents. The program developed the L-pill, a lethal cyanide capsule designed for involuntary administration during interrogations. CIA, Technical Services, created a silent aerosol dispenser disguised as a common brand of shaving cream. AEKNIFE employed ex-Nazi intelligence officers for their expertise in East Bloc guerrilla tactics. The program utilized high-frequency triangulation to locate the mobile radio transmitters of African independence leaders. Elimination-Protocols required at least 3 separate biological confirmations of a target's death before a mission was closed. AEKNIFE authorized the use of experimental psychotropics to induce suicidal ideation and high-profile political targets. The program utilized the U-2 spy plane for pre-strike terrain mapping of rebel encampments. Asset recruitment for AEKNIFE often targeted the personal physicians or chefs of the targeted leaders. The CIA maintained a lethal research lab at Fort Detrick specifically for the AEKNIFE program. Project ZR Rifle was the specialized sniper cell within the broader AEKNIFE action program. The program used microtransmitters embedded in gift items to track targets in real time. AEKNIFE bypassed the State Department to avoid diplomatic interference. Accident simulations teams were trained to make assassinations look like natural causes or random crime. The program utilized underwater rebreathers for amphibious insertions into harbor side villas. AEKNIFE maintained a secret bounty fund payable in untraceable Swiss francs. The long-distance surveillance protocols utilized laser microscopes that could pick up conversations from window vibrations miles away. The program attempted to utilize exploding cigars and thallium dust in shoes as termination methods. Target dossiers in the AEKNIFE program include detailed psychological vulnerability maps. AEKNIFE utilized ghost couriers who never knew the identity of the person they were delivering special packages to. The program maintained a lethal inventory of over 50 different undetectable toxins. Executive action was the internal euphemism for the sanctioned killings under AEKNIFE. The program utilized infrared spotting for nighttime point-blank eliminations. AEKNIFE coordinated with organized crime syndicates for deniable hits. Post-mission sanitization involved the complete destruction of all physical evidence at the strike site. The program utilized custom-bore rifles that left no ballistic fingerprint common to military weapons. AEKNIFE operated under a special budget authorization that was never seen by Congress. Surveillance van units were disguised as local utility repair crews in foreign capitals. The program used high-speed photography to confirm target identity from over 1,000 yards. AEKNIFE utilized voice stress analysis on recorded tapes to determine a target's next movement. The program developed slow-acting pathogens that would cause death weeks after initial exposure. Contract agents were often terminated from service, liquidated, if they became a security risk. The program utilized satellite telemetry in its later stages to track the movements of Soviet generals. AEKNIFE influenced the outcome of 3 separate African coups in the 1960s. Targeted assassination was legally justified internally as a form of self-defense of the nation. The program utilized false flag operations to make it appear that rival guerrilla groups were responsible for the hits. AEKNIFE maintained a mobile surgical unit to alter the appearance of its top-tier assassins. The program utilized homing pigeons in remote areas where remote radio signals were too easily intercepted. Elimination reports were hand-carried by deep cover officers to the director's private residence. AEKNIFE used hypnosis in an attempt to create sleep agents for infiltration. The program utilized dental implants with hidden compartments for storing suicide pills or encoded microdots. AEKNIFE researchers tested the toxicity of numerous things on target analog animals in clandestine farm sites. The program utilized thermal imaging prototypes to distinguish human heat signatures through dense jungle canopies. AEKNIFE maintained a graveyard list of personnel whose service records were erased after their deaths on mission. The program used exploding radios designed to detonate only when a specific broadcast frequency was reached. AEKNIFE utilized improvised suppressors made from common household materials to reduce the acoustic signature of local caliber handguns. The project conducted simulated sanction drills in abandoned U.S. town sites to test response times of local law enforcement. AEKNIFE assets were taught to utilize common pollutants like heavy metals to mimic organ failure over a long period. The program used clandestine courier passes that allowed operatives to bypass customs in over 40 neutral nations. AEKNIFE experimented with magnetic disruption to disable the ignition systems of a target's motorcade. The program utilized sub-miniature cameras hidden in buttons to photograph a target's internal security logs. AEKNIFE developed a skin absorption serum that could be applied to a target's steering wheel. The program used acoustic shadow analysis to determine the optimal timing for a loud kinetic event in urban areas. AEKNIFE maintained a disposal contract with private crematoriums in 3 different European countries. The program utilized radio beacon snatching, a method where a low-flying aircraft would physically snag an intelligence packet from a ground-based AEKNIFE asset. A quote from Alan Dulles, former CIA director, "We must realize that in such a struggle we are facing an enemy who is prepared to use any means at his disposal at his disposal, we must be prepared to do the same. Quote from a declassified internal history of the Directorate of Plans: assassination is a blunt instrument, but AEKNIFE was designed to make it a precision tool. Quote from a declassified minutes from a special group augmented meeting dated 1962. There are certain people in this world whose existence is simply incompatible with the security of the United States. Declassified Technical Service Division Chief Memo: the technical challenge was never the killing, it was the getting away with it without leaving a fingerprint on the globe. Declassified internal briefing to the National Security Council: if the executive action capability is lost, the agency becomes merely a library of useless secrets. Quote that is declassified from a memo from the Deputy Director of Plans, 1961. It doesn't say their name, and I don't know who was the Deputy Director of Plans in 1961. Our purpose is to create a capability that is surgically effective yet totally deniable by the presidency. And a quote from a declassified operational review of Third World Counterinsurgency: the use of indigenous assets in kinetic programs provides the ultimate shield for the agency's hand. End quote. The most terrifying parts of AEKNIFE are not the things we can read, but the things that have been systematically deleted from the record. The heaviest redactions are found in the Sanction Log, Volume 9, titled Domestic Neutralization and Liaison Cleanup. This section consists of approximately 415 pages that are entirely white blocked. These redactions are protected under FOIA Exemption B1, National Defense, and Exemption B7, Law Enforcement Records. I suspect these pages contain the list of American collaborators, citizens who were removed because they had uncovered the program's existence. Furthermore, it likely contains the Church Committee inhibitor files detailing how the agency successfully hid the most active AEKNIFE cells from congressional investigators in the 1970s. I also suspect that there is some details on the Operation Clean Sweep, speculating that the agency may have performed sanitizing actions on U.S. soil to eliminate witnesses to the program's black market funding. Furthermore, the target list of 1963 is heavily redacted, fueling the speculation that the program's assets may have been repurposed for a domestic strike that changed American history. Finally, the Foreign Head of State Registry remains secret, likely because it lists the names of current world leaders who are actually AEKNIFE installed assets. In the silence of the archives, the shadow theories begin to emerge. There is a theory that is referred to as the Manchurian Candidate theory. The speculation suggests that AEKNIFE successfully created triggered assassins through a combination of LSD and sensory deprivation, who were then released back into the general population to await a keyword activation. Then there's the cancer gun speculation. Some believe the program perfected a weapon that fires a frozen dart of cancerous cells, causing the target to die of natural causes months later without any trace of foul play. Then there's the double homicide theory, a persistent conspiracy which suggests that for every high-profile AEKNIFE hit, the agency also liquidated the assassin immediately after the mission to ensure the secret died with them. And then there's the time delay toxin conspiracy. Some conspiracy enthusiasts speculate that AEKNIFE utilized genetic markers to create toxins that would only be lethal to individuals with specific DNA sequences, allowing for a clean kill in a crowded room. Was AEKNIFE a success? Tactically, it was a cold masterpiece. The program achieved the decapitation of numerous Soviet-backed movements without ever triggering a direct military confrontation. It allowed the United States to shape the political landscape of entire continents with the cost of a few action officers rather than 1,000 soldiers. AEKNIFE proved that the targeted neutralization could be an effective, albeit brutal, substitute for conventional war. It validated the surrogate warfare model where the agency could remove a single strategic pivot point, a general, a financier, or a demagogue, and watch an entire adversary movement crumble into infighting. By industrializing the process of termination, the agency turned a chaotic rogue practice into a standardized bureaucratic function that delivered repeatable results. Strategically, it was an ethical quagmire. While the program won individual battles, it created a legacy of blowback and global distrust. The exposure of these protocols led to a permanent stain on American foreign policy and prompted the eventual assassination ban under Executive Order 12333. The success of AEKNIFE may have actually accelerated the radicalization of of the very movements it sought to destroy, turning the neutralized leaders into permanent martyrs. Furthermore, the reliance on such programs fostered a culture of shortcut diplomacy within the intelligence community, where the physical removal of a person was seen as a viable alternative to complex, long-term political engagement. This created a security fallacy where the U.S. believed it was safer by removing threats, while in reality it was often planting the seeds for more sophisticated and decentralized adversaries who learned to survive without a centralized head. As far as operational and technological breakthroughs go, AEKNIFE led to quite a few, such as remote precision surveillance. The long-distance surveillance protocols developed by AEKNIFE using vibrometers and specialized optics are the direct ancestors of modern laser interferometry. Today, the intelligence community uses these refined methods to listen to conversations inside hardened bunkers by measuring the microscopic vibrations of air vents from miles away. The military utilizes this vibration analysis to detect the heartbeat of human targets through walls, ensuring that targeted strikes are executed with absolute certainty of the individual's presence. Undetectable biometric neutralization. The AEKNIFE research into shellfish toxin and simulated natural causes has evolved into modern molecular pharmacology. Intelligence agencies now utilize directed energy and bioisotope delivery systems that can induce cardiac arrest or stroke from a distance without leaving a chemical residue. This allows for the neutralization of high-threat actors in a way that remains medically indistinguishable from a standard health failure, maintaining the plausible deniability that was the program's founding principle. Digital deniability and deep cover infrastructure. The safe house networks and ghost couriers of the 1960s have been digitized into virtual private networks and shadow digital identities. The intelligence community now manages a global web of shell servers and algorithm identities that perform cyber assassinations, the total destruction of a person's digital and financial life. With the same cold logic as the physical AEKNIFE strikes, the digital liquidation serves as a non-lethal yet equally effective form of neutralization for the modern era. Autonomous tracking and targeting algorithms. The target dossiers and psychological vulnerability maps have been fed into artificial intelligence systems. Today, the military uses these and AEKNIFE-derived pattern of life algorithms to predict a target's location before they even arrive. This allows for the deployment of loitering munitions, autonomous drones that hunt for a specific facial or thermal signature, turning the blade in the dark into a blade in the sky that never sleeps and never misses. The history of AEKNIFE is a journey into the darkest corner of the human soul. It was a program that asked a terrible question: how many lives is one correct death worth? It functioned as the ultimate backstop for a nation that feared it was losing the world, providing a sense of control in an era of chaos. But in the search for control, it sacrificed the very moral superiority that the Cold War was supposedly being fought to preserve. The technical brilliance of the Elimination-Protocols was matched only by the spiritual void they left behind. Every dart fired and every accident staged was a brick removed from the foundation of international law. We now live in the post-AEKNIFE world, a place where targeted assassination has become so technically refined that we rarely even hear about the blades until they have already struck. The program represents the moment the state decided it had the power of life and death over the entire planet's population as long as it could keep the accountability hidden in a redacted file. The blade in the dark is still out there. It has simply become more invisible, more technical, and more pervasive. It is a reminder that the most dangerous secrets are not the ones kept in vaults, but the ones we tell ourselves to justify the unjustifiable. Ultimately, the ghost of AEKNIFE lives on in every drone strike and every sudden illness of a political dissident. We have not moved past the era of the action program. We have simply renamed it. The lesson of the Directorate of Plans is that when the stakes are existential, the blade is always the first tool the planners reach for. In the world of Black Ops, the accident is never accidental. Plausible deniability is only as strong as the silence of the survivors. This one's important. Never trust a gift from a man who lives in a windowless office. And remember, the light of truth is the only thing the blade cannot cut. Thanks for listening. Join us next time as we examine KU Gown, the expansive and invisible cryptonym for the CIA's global propaganda and psychological operations. We'll look at the narrative seeding in foreign newspapers, the subliminal radio broadcast, and the terrifying science of mass behavior modification. Join us next time for The Architect of the Lie. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.